This is what we're making today: Autumn Leaf Viewing Entremet. This dish consists of multiple layers. We're going to start off by making the cranberry jelly. In a pot, we're going to put in 1 cup of cranberry juice and 2 tablespoons of powdered gelatin. We're going to give this a mix and then bring it up to a simmer. Once it simmers, we're going to strain the mixture and let it cool at room temperature. Next is the apple jelly. In a pot, we're going to do the same thing: 1 cup of apple juice and 2 tablespoons of gelatin powder. We're going to give it a mix, bring it to a simmer, strain it, and leave it out to cool at room temperature. And that's 2 of the easiest layers down, 4 to go. For the third layer, we're going to make a Gorgonzola Panna Cotta. In a pot, we're going to put 3/4 cups of whipping cream, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and then mix. Once the sugar dissolves, we're going to add in 1/4 cup of Gorgonzola cheese. While the cheese is melting, we're going to bloom 2 tablespoons of gelatin with 1/8 of a cup of water. We're going to add our bloomed gelatin to the mixture and then bring it to a simmer. We're going to put this mixture aside and let it cool at room temperature. Next, we're going to make the bottom layer, which is a sponge cake. On a double boiler, we're going to add in 2 eggs and 60 grams of sugar. We're going to give this a mix until all the sugar is dissolved. Once the sugar dissolves, we're going to bring this mixture up to 40 degrees Celsius. Make sure you don't go any higher or you might curdle the egg. And once you hit 40, take it off the double boiler right away. Next, we're going to whisk this mixture up until it's frothy and creamy. This will take 3 to 5 minutes depending on the speed of your blender. You want it to look like this. Once it's done mixing, we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of walnuts and 60 grams of flour in 2 portions. We're going to add in 1/3 of the flour and then fold it in until it's well incorporated. Then we're going to add in the rest of the flour and keep folding until there's no lumps. We're going to pour it into a baking pan with parchment paper on the bottom and buttered on the sides. While this batter is pouring, this is where I remind you to smash that like button and hit the notification bells for new videos. And if you really like what you see, hit the subscribe button. It's on the bottom right of your screen. Once the batter's all poured in, we're going to give it a little swirly swirl to even it out, and then give it a little tapa and throw it into the oven. This is going into the oven for 12 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Next is the top layer, the cheese mousse. In a bowl, we're going to add in 125 grams of cream cheese and 1/2 cup of sugar. We're going to break it down with a fork to make it easier to hand blend. Then we're going to blend it with a hand blender until it has a creamy texture. Once it's nice and creamy, we're going to stream in a cup of whipping cream. Make sure you stream it in slowly to ensure that it has a nice even texture. Next, we're going to bloom a tablespoon of gelatin with 1/8 of a cup of water. We're going to throw it into our cheese mixture and then hand blend it all in. If you timed it properly, your sponge cake should be done. and it should look like this. Now we're just going to leave it out to cool at room temperature. Next are the caramel shards. In a cold pan, we're going to add in 1 cup of sugar and 2 tablespoons of water. We're going to cook it on medium-high heat for 5 minutes, and then it should look like this. We're going to pour the mixture onto parchment paper. Then we're going to place another parchment paper on top of it and roll it flat with a pin. This thing will harden within 5 minutes at room temperature. And finally, for the outer layer, we're going to make a cranberry mirror glaze. In a pan, we're going to add in 300 grams of maple syrup, 300 grams of sugar, and 120 grams of cranberry juice. We're going to give this a mix until all the sugars dissolve, and then we're going to bring it to a boil. We're going to pull this off the heat, then add in 20 grams of gelatin bloomed with a 1/4 cup of water. We're going to mix it all in, then add in 200 grams of condensed milk, and then mix again. Once it's all mixed, we're going to add in 300 grams of white chocolate. As you guys can see, I'm just letting the residual heat of the pan do all the melting. Once it's all incorporated, we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of red food coloring. This will give the glaze a shiny dark red color. Now we're just going to let it cool at room temperature. Let's start building our dessert. The first layer will be our cheese mousse. We're going to pour it into a mold and put it in the freezer for 5 minutes to set. We're going to do this for every single layer. And the next layer is our cranberry jelly. We're going to freeze it, then pull it, then we're going to pour the next layer, which is the apple jelly. Then we're going to pour in the Gorgonzola Panna Cotta. This one will take longer to set, so we're going to leave it in the freezer for 10 minutes. While our dessert is setting in the freezer, we're going to cut our sponge cake. I'm going to use this cup to cut a circle because it's a perfect fit with the mold. We're going to cut 3 circles and cut each of those circles in half, giving us 6 circles. This proves that I can do math. This also gives me 1 extra in case I screwed up one. We're going to pour in a tablespoon of cranberry jelly in each of the molds and put the sponge cake on top of it. The cranberry jelly will act as a glue as it sets in the freezer. And this is what it should look like when it's frozen. We're now going to pour our mirror glaze on top of it. Oh, that is so satisfying to see. We're going to put this in the fridge for the next 30 minutes to let it set. Next, we're going to break the caramel shard. We're simply going to pick it up and break it with our hands and let fate decide of its shape. Now let's start plating. This is reality, and this is anime. It's time to eat. Oh my god, I'm so curious about this. Alright, let's put these shards on the side first. It looks like it's gonna kill someone. I'm gonna cut this dessert in half and see what it looks like. As you can see all 6 layers. You can see the mirror glaze, the cheese mousse, the cranberry jelly, the apple jelly, the gorgonzola panna cotta, and the sponge cake. Now let's give it a taste. It's sweet and creamy. The pungentness of the gorgonzola is well complemented by the acidity of the cranberries and apple. The caramel shard is overly sweet. I mean, I feel like I'm eating pure sugar. But for the actual entremet, my god, this is delicious. This is what you would find in fine dining. These Food Wars recipes continue to amaze me because they always deliver. Anyways, if you like what you see, hit the like button, and if you guys have any suggestions on what I should cook next, please post in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe.